so you don't deserve luxury just because you're a black woman. Now, that doesn't mean you can't desire it. It doesn't mean you can't work for it. It doesn't mean you can't hope to have it one day. But you don't just deserve it by nature of who you are. No one does. And, the reason I want to challenge that idea is because in reality, very few people today are actually living luxurious lifestyles. I've mentioned this before, I'll mention this again. 44% of Americans, right, US Americans, are low wage workers. Okay, 44%. That's almost half the population, or at least half the population of those who are working. They are low wage. Black women in particular are one of the least paid workers out there. So when we say that we deserve luxury, well, what are we really talking about? Because in reality, that's actually not our everyday experience. And the reason I want to caution against that is because I think it's unhealthy to create unrealistic expectations that most women today don't experience or live up to. Again, that's not to say that we can't have our own desires and we can't hope for better things. We certainly can. And we can certainly, try to work towards things, or maybe marry a man and try to build a life to work towards those things. Yes. But most people right now in America, all across the board, are financially on hard times. Black women included. No one is exempt from that. And so don't let anyone fool you and make you think that, all other women or most other women are just going around living their best life, leveling up, hypergamously going to restaurants and boutiques and, vacations. I mean, we can all do that. I like going to nice restaurants. I do that frequently. I like going to different nice places. That's all fun. But, like I said, don't let anyone fool you and think that that is just what you deserve by nature of who you are, because the reality is most people aren't living that way. So another reason I think it is important to be cautious about throwing around ideas that we by nature deserve luxury, or we should just have luxury because we're women or because we're black women. Another reason I think that's a dangerous idea is because just by nature of the American economy, it is incredibly difficult to go from class to class. For example, The Guardian, they released a article earlier this year that discussed this. I'm going to read a section of it. It says, what about rising from rags to riches? We've all heard about this, right? The rags to riches stories. The person who grows up in a poor area and ends up being a multimillionaire, or, a woman who grows up in poverty ends up marrying a prince. We've all seen those stories. And they're addressing this. So they say, what about rising from rags to riches? In the US, 8% of children raised in the bottom 20% of the income distribution are able to climb to the top 20% as adults, while the figure in Denmark is nearly double at 15%. So basically it's saying that it's only about 8% of people who are able to basically jump classes, go to a different class, right? Go from being lower class to the upper class. 8%. That is a very, very, very small number. So we want to talk about, economic mobility. We want to talk about, leveling up, going into a different class. Very few people actually do that. Very few people. And then, like I said, black women, we are some of the least paid women out there. But, we can argue about education, we can argue about, a whole bunch of different things. But just as far as wages, we're certainly not making as much as black men, especially not as much as like white men for that reason. And so our economic standing compared to other people in this economy in general is not the strongest. So again, with those statistics and with that, evidence, for us to say that we now therefore deserve luxury, again, I think can be really dangerous when many of us actually don't have the finances to sustain that lifestyle. With that said, I think it's good to desire things. I think it's okay to want to do better, to want to see, Black women portrayed in certain ways, and want to see Black women portrayed in successful environments. Like, I totally get that, and I totally am supportive of that. But I just want to caution against, we deserve something or we should earn something and it just comes to us, when the reality is most people in America today aren't even living that way. It's 80% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck. So if about 80% of us are struggling financially, Black women, we are not, extinct from that. We are not removed from that struggle that many people right now in America are feeling. And that is the reality. But what do you think? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Let me know what you think. Leave your questions, comments, concerns in the comment section below. Thank you so much for listening if you've gotten this far, and we'll talk later. Bye.